Welcome back to another episode of the North Star Takes podcast. I'm Bailey Policki. He's Jacob Liberta. We're a Minnesota sports podcast. Today we're going to be talking Minnesota Timberwolves. So if you're a Timberwolves fan, be sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button as well. Timberwolves have won 4 games in a row, which is, it's kind of nice to see these winning streaks for the Timberwolves here this season. Obviously, it's been a roller coaster. Getting off to that rough start and then winning 5 or 7 of their 8 games and then dropping 5 in a row, and now they've won 4 in a row. Kind of a roller coaster season, but Timberwolves are stacking up some nice wins here. You got a good win. We're recording right after the win over the Mavericks. And just like that, we're back in the 8 seed. We're a half game back at the Lakers, who we just beat as well, in the 7 seed. I guess they're tied with the Nuggets as well. So we're a half game back of the 6 seed, and we're a full game back at the 5 seed where the Clippers reside. And it's kind of crazy the resolve this team has, and they're getting some big time contributions. Ant and Torian Prince are on the COVID list, but these other guys are kind of picking up the slack. So what's been your thoughts on the team over these last 4 games and how impressive they've looked?
I think they've been great, and obviously it's no coincidence it happened right after D'Lo came back. I think he's very important to this team winning, probably the most important. So truthfully, I think that's no coincidence, and it also speaks to the streakiness of this team this year. That's literally all we've done is we've gone on these runs. We start 3-1, and then we drop 8 of 9, 8 of 9 games,
Yep.
And then we go on a run where we win 7 of 8, and then we lose another 5 in a row. But now we're bouncing back for 4 in a row to win. So It's been very up and down all over the place, and I think it's a byproduct of both the schedule getting tough at points where it feels like we play a bunch of good teams all in a row, and you just fall in this funk. But then we come out of it and win some games in a row, which these games are winning are against teams that are typically around us in the standings, like you mentioned, with this big Mavs when we just won against the Lakers. We've won against the Spurs this season. All these teams that are around us in the standings, Portland in this winning streak. So and Denver, there's just been a lot of good wins against teams around us, not necessarily any marquee wins, I'd say, towards the top of the West yet. I think those will come at some point, but so I think we're taking steps towards being a legitimate, team in the playoff race, I guess, in the West, not just kind of scratching in. So I would say that's promising, but there's a lot to like here, and I just hope that just keep the good times rolling as much as possible, because those losing streaks definitely have happened at least already a few times this year, and they're going to happen again at some point. So just got to enjoy the good times while you got them, but hopefully we don't stack losses as much as we have at points. But overall, keep rambling here, but I think as far as being excited right now, I'd say, like you got on the screen here, D'Lo, Bando, Cat, they're bringing the energy every night. They're playing with great emotion, and I think that's you got to be able to keep it in control a little bit, especially with like Cat and the officiating. But I think these guys bring it every night. I think they get the crowd really into it, even with that. And that's a pretty hard thing to do when Ant's not playing. But I think guys like D'Lo talking all this trash off the bench and stuff, and I think this team feeds off the Target Center crowd, and I think it's great that we're finding ways to win without Ant, who is our most naturally talented player, I think. So naturally gifted, I should say, however you want to say it. But I got a lot of things I could say about this Wolves team right now. It's just a little bit of everything, a little bit of contributions from everybody beyond these 3 as well.
Exactly. A guy like Jalen Noel, I think, is really starting to solidify himself as being a good rotational player for this team, because
100%.
Honestly, the bench needs a guy who can create shots, because Malik Beasley, as much as I want him to succeed, as much as I'm really hoping he can turn this shooting slump around, he's not a shot creator. He basically needs to be set up to hit his shots. He's a catch and shoot guy.
Yes.
And really, this year he's only been effective from the corners behind the 3-point line. So if he's not shooting from the corners, it's probably not going in the way it's been going so far this season. But you got Jalen Noel, who can come in, he can ball handle, he can create separation, he can hit a step back, he can hit a turnaround fadeaway. He was hitting all sorts of shots tonight. He had 16 points, which was huge for this team off the bench.
And they were all in the second half, weren't they?
I believe.
Or how many did he have early? I guess I don't know. I thought most of them came in the second half, though. Like he had a big run there.
Yeah, I think most of them came in the third quarter, which was big time. And great for him. I mean, he's been buried on the bench. Chris Finch has given him a chance because really McLaughlin hasn't been impressive. Balmero's been pretty much unplayable. He was in for a little bit tonight, and he kind of looks lost out there. He doesn't really know who he's defending. Offensively, he's very passive because he doesn't trust his game, which I just think the guy needs to be playing in Iowa.
Yeah, he can't be in the rotation right now.
Yeah, they keep sending Nathan Knight back and forth, and McKinley Wright's been staying down there. Like, just keep Bolmero down there. Between D'Lo, Pat Bev, Jalen Noel, and Jordan McLaughlin, you got 4 guys that can play. Like, I know you like Bolmero's size, and that's helpful, when Ant is out and Torian Prince is out. But
I think eventually he could contribute, just not right now.
yes, I agree. I think, he's not a bust or anything, but he just needs to develop. He's not used to the NBA game. I think playing in the G League would really benefit him. But the other thing I want to highlight here is how good of a coach Chris Finch is. I mean, these guys absolutely respect him. He calls timeouts at the perfect time. Like, I think I saw it was at the end of the first half. There was a play where, or there was a moment where he, coming out of a TV timeout, I think, he sat Cat because it was a defensive possession. Cat had 3 fouls. But then we got the ball back. He calls a timeout quick, gets Cat back in the game. Like stuff like that, where it's like it's gamesmanship,
little things, yeah.
But it matters in the end. And he's super smart with the rotations. I think he knows what guys play well together. He really D'Lo running with the bench has just been phenomenal. Pat Bev coming in, playing with the starting unit, giving them the juice, just stuff like that. And now Jaden McDaniels is starting to find his game. He's knocking down open shots, which is really all you can ask from him offensively. Defensively, he's still playing hard, getting rebounds. So, yeah, I mean, just up and down the lineup, getting so much more contributions. And I don't know, man, it's exciting to see this team, play to their potential because they got the talent, at least on paper, to be a top, 7-6 team in the West, I think. And some of these teams are battling injuries, and once they get guys back, things might be different. But like Portland is really struggling right now. You got the Kings, who are currently the 10 seed, but I don't see them hanging on. The Mavs are obviously without Luka. He might play on Tuesday when we play them next, but I don't know, man. It's been a nice little start to the season. I mean, I'll take 15-15 and sitting at 500. That's for sure.
Yeah, I would imagine every Timberwolves fan out there would take 15-15 through 30 games because I can't remember, besides the Jimmy year, how many starts we really get like that where we're 500 this far into the season.
Never.
Like that just doesn't happen for this franchise. And I know 500 to most fans in the NBA would probably sound like, oh, that's a pretty low bar. Like that's really the expectation. But it's like for how bad this franchise has been, it's a nice stepping stone. Like I don't think you're just a horrible bottom feeder to contender overnight. So I think these are clear steps forward, and that's great. I think creates more energy within the organization to really buy into what we're doing and that it's going to work or turn into something potentially one day. So I think this is good for foundational building, and I hope we can propel it into more than just a playing game if we can. I think playing games probably still the bar, but if we could somehow slide into the top 6 in the West by season's end, that'd be awesome. That'd definitely overachieving, and that'd be a great season in my book, regardless of what happened in the playoffs. So, I guess I had a thought coming into this too about who was it? What was my train of thought? It was no. What was it? Noel. I think it was. I think it was more with Noel. Going back to Noel, I know we just beat this drum about him scoring all the points and, like you said, shot making. But I think it's really how much guys like D'Lo likes him. I think that's big. I think they can play off each other very nicely, and I think that's something that, like, compare Bolmaro or something as far as a ball handler goes. Like, I don't think the same chemistry is just there. So I think at this point, with the way that Noel can just make all these little plays here and there, it can just be a bridge to the starters really in a big third quarter, like he has been these last couple games. I think that's massive, and I think it probably lessens the need to go pursue a type of player like that, like a third point guard in the trade market.
Yeah, because our last Wolves video we talked about maybe Malcolm Brogdon. I know people have floated out Kemba Walker because he's kind of out of the rotation with the Knicks. But you're right. Like, if you can get this out of Jalen Noel, which remains to be seen if he can do it consistently, but if he's got that potential. So it's like really all we need is a big man. But then there's nights where like Vandal is just a beast on the offensive boards, and like we're not actually getting out rebounded that bad. So it's almost like I partially want to stay in a holding pattern and just kind of keep this current roster the way it is, because you don't want to bring in another contract to muddy things up a little bit. And
Mhm.
I don't know. Like, I mean, granted, I still think they need size because I just think, like once again tonight, Cat was in foul trouble. Naz Reid struggled defensively. So, and Vando was great. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like you need one more big in there.
Oh, I totally agree. And tonight I noticed that's what kind of blew me away. Like I didn't actually catch the first part of the game once I hopped in and was looking at the box score and things like that. Like one of the big things for the Wolves this year, how they've been creating a lot of points is off the offensive glass and a lot of second chance points. But tonight it was just non-existent, which was a little weird because
Yeah.
obviously Kristaps played limited minutes with the um, foot injury because he ended up leaving the game, and then obviously didn't
Yep.
have Luca either. So I kind of figured it'd be a night for us to maybe have our way on the glass, but at the same time, it just wasn't there. We didn't have those second chance points. So I think it's another testament to this team just finding a different way to win because that's been kind of our recipe for success this year is all the offensive glass, second chance points, and creating turnovers, getting out transition, things like that, creating all these non-conventional opportunities to score points because I know our half court offense is statistically one of the worst in the NBA this year.
Yep.
So that kind of surprised me a little bit, but it's also it should be a good sign that we found a way to win, even despite not having our usual output as far as second chance points go.
Absolutely. And I feel like the half court offense I think is slowly improving too. I think I saw some numbers over like their last 10 games. It's more middle of the pack, which is kind of what you're wanting. It seems like D'Lo, Cat, and Ant had start to get more in a rhythm now. Of course, Ant's going to be out for a little while with the COVID protocols, but
Yeah.
now looking ahead to this next game against Dallas, it's like, okay, Kristaps hurt his foot. Will he be able to play Tuesday? Is Luca going to be back? Like, this could be another big game for the Wolves. And I don't know how long Ant's going to be out. I think I saw a quote from Vanderbilt this morning that said, like, Ant and Torian Prince are doing well, and we look forward to getting them back soon. So I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
They have to produce negative tests, but
Yeah. It's anybody's guess at this point.
yeah, so that'd be huge if you could get them back soon here because you got Dallas, obviously you got Utah Jazz coming up, and then
Couple games
Celtics.
against Utah here. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a little hairy, but I mean this is kind of what the Wolves need. They kind of need to take that next step. If you can beat the
Totally agree.
Jazz like we did last year, those would be big wins.
Absolutely. I think that's probably the next step for us is winning a game or two here and there against teams that are clearly better than us as far as like in the standings go. When you think about teams like Golden State or Phoenix or Utah or something like that, I think that'd probably
Yep.
be our next logical step. But at the same time, if we can win the games against all the teams around us in the standings, I'll take that, even if we're going to lose most of those against everybody above us. So I think we're in a good spot, and we just got to keep the momentum rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just looking at the standings here quick. What's crazy is we're truly a 500 team. We're 9-9 at home. We're 6-6 on the road. So kind of
Yeah.
crazy. Just even splits.
I'll take that for a road record. I think we could
Yeah.
improve the home record just a little bit. I think playoff teams typically win a few more at home than they do
Yep.
on the road. So I hope that gets better as the season goes on. I think it will, just because, like you said, I think this team's only getting better offensively. And when you bring a good offense to your home court, I think that's huge. Just
Yes.
because I think the NBA obviously is an offensive driven league and the crowd feeds off that. So when your offenses are rolling, then everybody gets into it, then you get all the energy on your side and you get positive momentum, then you can start run up the score, get these big leads, and start making it easier to win games. I know the Wolves, it seems like we played in a lot of close games this year. There hasn't been
Hmm.
like a ton of comfortable wins. I know we had that other night against actually a couple back to back now that I think about it. I was going to say shot the lights out against Denver, but then
Yeah.
against LA, I think that was probably more of a byproduct of LA not being able to shoot the ball at all. But
Yep.
truthfully, I think we end up in a lot of close games, and I would think that gets better at home as the season goes on. I think our performance should only improve.
I agree with you. And the more they win, the more energized Target Center is going to be.
Yep.
Clearly, Ant gets the crowd amped up. So when he's back, that's big.
Yes.
So I think Target Center is slowly going to start turning over into more of an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, when you start off the season and it's just dead in there because there's no excitement for the team yet.
Yeah.
But if they can keep winning these games, I mean, things are going to change. Exactly. Absolutely. So it'll be interesting to see where this team can go. But in the meantime, it's just fun to enjoy the ride because
100%. You should enjoy this Wolves team. Win or lose every night. They have a lot of fun, likable guys that you should enjoy watching. So as long as they don't come out and get blown out, it should be an enjoyable experience.
Yeah, because at the very worst, they're fun to watch. And then, if you can keep the bar relatively low. You're not expecting NBA finals out of this team.
No.
You want to get in the play-in for sure. I would prefer a top 8 seed just so you have
Mhm.
an opportunity to not
Hopefully.
get bounced in one game.
Oh,
So,
yeah, there's that too. Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. I'm liking the direction this team's going, and hopefully they can
Mhm.
keep it going. So, any
100%.
final thoughts from you before we wrap here?
Yeah, through 30 games, couldn't ask for much more. Obviously, I'd like to see a little bit better shooting as a team. I think we have one of the worst team shooting percentages in the league. I think the last time I checked, I want to say it was either right after the LA game. We were, I think, bottom 5 in team shooting percentage, so that needs to
Man,
get better.
yep,
I think we're hanging around 20th in 3-point percentage, so that's a little bit better, but still not great to be bottom 10 in the league. And I think these guys, we're better than what we're doing right now. I think we're not going to shoot this bad all year. Because guys
no,
like D'Lo, I know he's having like career worsts for shooting percentages, and
yep,
I think with the way his season's going, I think he's having a good season. I think that part of his game will just continue to get better as we go along. So I'm not too concerned, but I guess that's probably what I'd look for here as we get closer to the halfway point of the season. See how this offense progresses every night. It should get a little bit better at least. It should be noticeably different in a couple weeks from now than it was even a couple weeks ago. So.
right, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And once we get Ant back in the mix, hopefully this whole COVID thing can kind of die down a little bit, so we're not missing any guys. And
I know, right?
it's part of the deal. But hopefully, if it does happen, it happens in little spurts, and you're not missing a whole bunch of guys at once. So.
Exactly.
That'll do it for this edition of the North Star Takes podcast. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button on this video as well, especially if you're a Minnesota Timberwolves fan, Minnesota sports fan. Leave your comments below what you've noticed about this Timberwolves team, what you really like, things you think they can improve on, who you think's really carrying the load, what you think of Chris Finch. I think he's done a phenomenal job. So I want to hear what fans think about Chris Finch as well. Give us a follow on both Twitter and Instagram, and thanks for watching.